Yes, this is a continuation of the video Seeking Justice in North Las Vegas. This is the third part of the video. When a police officer looked at my daughter, he told my daughter that he was arresting her for obstruction, and I don't know what she was obstructing. She had two pairs of handcuffs on her. He socked her in her eye, gave her a headache for 5 days, took her to jail for 5 days. And in the police report, he lied in the police report and he told my daughter, if you don't step back, I'm going to tase you. I asked my daughter, was that true? And she said, didn't nobody ever say anything to me about tasing me, Mama. That cop is lying. I told her, okay, I believe her. While my daughter was in, now my daughter has a misdemeanor charge on her that should not be on her. I need a lawyer who could get this misdemeanor charge off of my daughter. All my kids were arrested. The next day, I took my kids to our family doctor, my 16 and 17-year-old, and these are the pictures that was taken. This is the damage that the police officers did to my son when they were beating my son till they beat him unconscious. The next day, the same day when I took my kids to the doctor on March the 3rd, which was on a Tuesday, on the way home, a police car was sitting on Tropical and Pecos watching myself as well as my 16 and 17-year-old walking home, just watching us walk because they know that they messed up. Then on March, when my daughter got out of jail around March the 7th, she came home. I took my kids to Centennial Hills Hospital. I have x-rays, I have medical reports, I have pictures of the damage that the police department did to my kids. On March the 10th, I got a telephone call from North Las Vegas Police Department. Lieutenant Semper called my phone and he left me a voicemail. On March the 24th, Lieutenant Semper called my phone again and he spoke to me and said my house became a crime scene and he wanted to bring a crime scene investigator to my house. And he wanted pictures of my son. If your officers didn't do anything wrong, why the hell are you asking me for pictures of my son? What do you need pictures of my son for? He need to go and get the pictures of my son from the cops who beat the hell out of my son. He never not once mentioned anything about my 16-year-old daughter who was tied up with a seatbelt in the back seat of the car. Where I come from is called, she was hog tied. Okay. Then on March the 29th, he called me again and I asked him, he asked me, could he still get a copy of the pictures? I told him, okay, sure, fine. Let me go to my doctor's office, get a copy of the pictures. And he thought I was really going to give him a copy of the pictures. So when he called me again, I told him, you know what, just speak to my lawyer and get the pictures from my lawyer. And I hung up. That was the end of me speaking to Lieutenant Semper. So after this, I take my son to court. My son is awarded a public defender. The district attorney is now pressing charges back on my 17-year-old son. When I went to the juvenile probation department on Pecos and Bonanza, I talked to the probation officer. The probation officer listened to everything my kids said, and he listened to everything I said. And he looked at he saw the pictures, and he told my 16-year-old daughter, he said, you know what, go outside in the lobby, have a seat, I'm throwing this out because this don't make no sense. He said, basically, these cops came in your house, re-stirred everything up. The fight was over when the police got there. They started everything up, started it all over. Why did they do that? If you notice, I keep repeating over and over, this happened inside my house. This did not happen outside where the public could see it. It did not happen where the public could videotape it or record it. They knew what they were doing. I guess they were having a bad hair day. It was Officer Sanderson, Anderson, Rockwell, Ryan, and Kimberly Edwards or Edwards. I don't know this lady's name. I don't know. And after they beat the mess out of my kids, they told my daughter, the sergeant told my daughter, if your mother comes in here showing her ass, I'm going to beat the hell out of her too, and I'm going to arrest her too. Mm-hmm. So, anyway, the probation officer threw the case out against my daughter. Then my son was appointed a public defender who appeared to be okay. The public defender, she really did not care about my son. My son had a learning disability, and he never been in trouble with the law a day in his life. My son did everything the judge told him to do, and my son basically did everything because he was under what's called duress, meaning he didn't know. I didn't know. I don't deal with courthouses. I don't talk to cops. This is the woman who was my son's public defender. Her name was Amy Feliciano, and she told my son that he, because of his learning disability, that he was unable to stand a trial. He did not understand what a district attorney, what the duties of a district attorney were. But the district attorney was pressing charges back on my child. So my son was ordered to write a letter of apology. He was ordered to do community service 24 hours, and he was under consent of decree, meaning he could not be out past 10 o'clock at night unless he was out with myself because I'm his mother. Mind you, he did nothing wrong. After my son did the community services, he did everything the judge told him to do. Basically, his public defender, she didn't care anything about my son. All she cared about was covering herself, and she told my son as well as myself, oh, I can't put you on the witness stand because you're not able to understand about a trial. Not knowing that he was incriminating himself, because now it's hard for me to find a lawyer. It's going on almost 2 years now, and I have still been trying to find a lawyer, and I can't find a lawyer. There has to be a lawyer out here somewhere who could take the case. I have spoke to several lawyers. I talked to Cal Potter. He told me, first thing Cal asked me, was there any broken bones? I told him no. He said, I'm sorry, I can't help you. It's not death related. No bones were broken. I don't do soft tissue injury cases. I called Freddie Gray's lawyer in Baltimore, Maryland. They would not take the case. I called Michael Brown's lawyer. He would not take the case. Porter Law Firm down in Florida. I'm having a hard time finding a lawyer. Every lawyer who I speak to, they tell me my son shouldn't have did what the judge told him to do. Well, he was under duress. He was scared. He did what the judge told him because his public defender said the district attorney to put more charges on him and make him do more hours of community service. So what are you going to do? You're going to do what the public defender tells you to do. So now the charges are thrown out, they're dropped, and now my son is still having problems remembering a lot of things. His hand is still messed up. So what I did, I went to my family doctor, and the family doctor referred him to a neurologist who did what was called a EEG. This neurologist, his name is Morton Hyson. This is who my son went to in June, 3 months after the incident. He had his technician come into the office, into the room where my son was. Be aware of this man. This man is not all there. This man had the technician stick needles in my son's arm. That was part of the procedure. I went back to my family doctor. My family doctor informed me that my son was supposed to have went back. When I took my son back on June the 8th, my son declined to have the same services done all over again because he didn't want the needle stuck from the top of his arm to the bottom of his arm. And Morton Hyson got upset, and he politely told his assistant, he never was here. He never was here. I never did see him. I never did see him. Okay, that's a lie, because guess what? When I walked inside Morton Hyson's office with my son, We were on video. So how did you never not see him? Okay, so now my son is going to a total different neurologist. I went to the medical board about this doctor. He refused to give my son's medical records to the new neurologist, and he still hasn't released these medical records yet. This ends part two of this session.